no justification unless Mr. Abdul Ghafur will give us his view. When you look at Surah Baqarah, for example, it was clear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to stop taking riba. Stop taking riba. Stop taking riba. And you will be la tazlimun wa la tuthlimun. And you won't be, I don't know how to translate the word dhulm, but perhaps those Muslims understand what's the word dhulm. Now, in other words, you won't be become a loser, and they won't take advantage on you as well. Now, from when you look at this ayah itself, it's very clear. It's used to deal in riba, all right, and you stop dealing with riba, all right. In the case of the window, this justified that it's the sources of income, all right, from that moment will be invested in Sharia activities. Now, the argument that we had several times with some sheikh that, and they agreed with us, okay, although there are differences of opinion, that if it is directly from a drug dealer, all right, or from a casino owners who wants to be an investment account holders or who wants to be shareholders, then of course it will be rejected. I mean, this is my personal view. Allahu Alam.
In one occasion, when the Yahud or Jewish paid the debt to Rasulullah, the Rasulullah didn't ask the Jews that where the money come from. Okay? But today in our financial system, we also have this, what they have, know your customers policy, okay, KYC, or fiduciary, okay? And also we have to be, you have to follow as well as the Money Laundering Act, okay? Where in that Money Laundering Act also spell out that you cannot receive money if that money come from the prostitution activities. In the US version, if the money come from the terrorists, it's not allowable. Okay, so it been catered, the sources been catered or been incorporated in the acts, and also in the fiduciary policy of each respective bank. And also the role of them, when we discuss with the bank, this is also our role, because our role also to educate the public, the customers, okay, or do the da'wah. We tell, let's say, when the customers bring in money, you tell that we only receive money which not come from the non-halal activities. Okay, for example, you want the 4-digit numbers, okay, and then you bring in money and save in your bank. But it's your role to tell the customers that we are not saying that I can't receive your money, but we tell the customers that you are doing the non-halal activities. So this is the policy that we should, okay, we shouldn't. Okay. So now the issues that we are facing is not only the issues of the non-Muslim involved in Islamic finance activities, but the issue is the activities which probably bring harm to the community. Okay, this is more important for me than the issues of whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim. And I want to tell you that the majority of our institution, the majority of our customers in our institution are non-Muslim. Okay, so this is the time for us. I mean, the institution, as part of their objective, is to educate the people, or the customers. Okay, in order to comply the Sharia, this is the activity that we are supposed to do. Okay, under your fiduciary policy. Wallahu alam.
Thank you very much, the Professor Abdul Ghafar. We go directly for the conclusion of this session. Of course, you'll get the opportunity to raise further questions afterwards. Thank you.
I'll try to be very brief because we are probably running short of time. I think we started quite well with what Dr. Munir has been saying in terms of how the Western world and the conventional banking system is now looking at Islamic banking. And but by what Dr. Munir is saying, the World Bank now is recognizing that an Islamic finance kind of structure is something which can really be integrated, or I would say upgraded from our conventional banking system into an Islamic finance. Having said that, Dr. Munir tried to explain to us why an Islamic finance structure. I would say Islamic finance as encompassing Islamic banking at the same time. If we look what happened in the financial crisis, and I'm sure all of us would agree, what happened was mostly due to the fact that there has been so many transactions which were not asset-backed. Had it not been there, probably we would not have had a financial crisis. So trying to answer why we have an Islamic banking kind of structure, Islamic finance, I think my read of it is that we do things according to principles. And these principles would be, around the world, everybody would tend to say that Islamic banking is about not taking interest. But maybe it was new as well for me, is that interest, the philosophy also encompass what we would say prohibiting bribery at the same time. There are other principles which are, I would say, philosophies of risk sharing in Islamic finance, where it's not only the borrower which I would tend to make the comparison between conventional and Islamic finance. In conventional finance, the risk is borne by the borrower. In Islamic finance, the risk is shared, be it the profit, be it the loss at the same time. Time and again, the read of how the world is looking at Islamic finance today is much more Islamic finance is becoming an ethical way of doing business, ethical way of doing banking. This is what the non-Muslim world is looking at when they look at Islamic finance today. And I think this kind of answers the question of the minister this morning. But I think by now we would understand that, yes, it is open to non-Muslims as well. Other principles which Dr. Munir tried to enlighten for us was a removal of uncertainty in Islamic finance. If today, if I'm able to quote a number, over 90% of cross-currency transactions around the world, over 90% is speculative. So this gives you an idea about what we are talking about when we say removal of uncertainty. Other principles would be trust in contracts, because this goes down to basic level of trust between two parties engaging in transactions. And of course, Islamic finance also requires Sharia approved activities. So alcohol, drugs, money laundering is out of the game. Lastly, what is very important is each transaction has to be asset-backed. Moving on to Professor Ismail, first thing what Professor Ismail has tried to explain to us is how to integrate from ourselves from a conventional system, and I would rather say upgrade to an Islamic finance structure, and guidelines, which is probably more important from a central bank perspective, is in terms of setting guidelines for corporate governance, Sharia advisory, capital adequacy, and rate of return, and also the reporting of financial statements. what is very important and probably was summarized by Professor Ismail was a processes of product setup approval. If you wish, you can go into the study of Professor Ismail on www.econis, EKONIS dash UKM.my. I repeat it for you, www.econis, EKONIS dash UKM.my. That would probably give you a better idea about all the guidelines and setup for products, which is very important for us at this stage, and more so in Mauritius, where we are now venturing into trying to set up Islamic banks and as well as window Islamic banks and cooperative societies as well. Thank you.
For the next session, I think if you got one question, we can take one question for the end of this session.
I'm Dr. Hamisa from University of Mauritius. I have one question for Professor Ismail. The approach you have shown on your slide, I think number 10, like when you had your items number 12, 13, 14, I think it is more like a bottom-up approach. And if you want to reduce moral hazard and at the same time asymmetric information, I would rather go for a participatory approach. So how would you include that in your model? Thank you.
So what I suggest is from the item that are required to be fulfilled by the institution, Islamic financial institution, that need to be the document that need to be submitted to the central bank. Actually, it covers not only the participation, not only the murabahah, but also other contract, participation as well, other contract. So meaning that it comes from the institution, because you want to create a niche. Okay, you want to create a product niche which can be marketed to the client. So it should come from the institution itself, where you can produce a product features where it can be differentiated from the others. Because you know that there are many competitors in the market. Of course, the CIBE become my competitors, or Century Bank become my competitors. So now how can I produce a contract, the product features, which come from my own research? Okay, so from there, I have to get the approval from the Sharia Committee, and then to be submitted to the Sharia Committee of the Central Bank to get the approval. Of course, all those elements will be taken care of in that product design.
Just to share with you that if you are running an Islamic bank in Mauritius, now you don't have to get the approval of the Bank of Mauritius for the Sharia product. I mean, once it is approved by the Sharia Advisory or the Sharia Supervisory Board, you can offer your product to the public.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muniruddin Al Mohammed and Abdul Ghaffar Ismail, and also Mr. Bodi. To end this session, I will call upon Mr. Munir Al Mohammed to accept a souvenir from Alhuda in Al Barakah. This is presented by Mr. Riyad. Mr. Sajid Bodi, please. And Professor Ismail. Thank you very much for having answered all the questions and for this presentation. So I would like to thank you again.